So 1988. Now today we're gonna do the 1990 Oakland A's. Now this is a team that really should definitely won a championship in 1990, but they ran into basically a Cinderella team and Cincinnati Reds in 1990. Not your vintage big red machine type of team, but they had good enough players to win the championship. Definitely had a great bullpen. We'll get into that. But first, let's look at the 1990 Oakland A's. This is what this part series is about. As far as this part 29 is about the 1990 Oakland A's. Now this team had a great season. They won 103 games. They were 103 and 59. That was their record. 103 and 59. Also, this may have been the finest Oakland A's team because they led the league outright in wins for the third consecutive season, which remained the last major North American team to accomplish this until 2017, when the Golden State Warriors accomplished the same feat. Now they had great players like Ricky Henderson, who's never speak for himself. 65 stolen bases, 28 home runs, hits a great average, 325 batting average. Took home the American League MVP. Obviously, you had Mark McGwire, Jose Canseco. Mark McGwire hit 39 home runs, while Jose Canseco hit 37. So this is a team that was loaded. They could steal bases, they could run, they could do it all, and they definitely represented that. And they were the defending champions. They won in '89. They beat the Giants the previous year, and now it's about them trying to win back-to-back titles, and they wasn't able to do it because, again, they ran into a team in the Cincinnati Reds who, got the job done. Also, Canseco and McGwire, they drove in a total of 209 runs. Also, not only did they have no strong offense, they had Willie Randolph on this team, Willie McGee on this team, Harold Baines on this team. Also, veterans like Carney Lansford, Terry Steinbach, Dave Henderson, Mike Ilago, Walt Weiss, Mike Bordick. This team is just so talented. When you look at Henderson, McGwire, Canseco, McGee, Steinbach, Randolph, Baines, and Lansford, they played in at least one All-Star game between 1988 and 1990. The pitching staff was very strong. They were led by Bob Welch, who had 27 wins, ERA of 2.95 ERA. Also, won the Cy Young Award in 1990. And Welch, as of 2014, remains the last Major League Baseball pitcher to win at least 25 games in the season. He won 27 in 1990. Obviously Dave Stewart, big-time pitcher, won 22 games. He finished in a tie for the second most wins in MLB that year. And Mike Moore, Scott Sanderson, Kurt Young, obviously the great Dennis Eckersley, who had a 0.61 ERA while having 48 saves. And the Athletics only allowed 570 runs, which is the fewest in the American League by a wide margin. So the playoff run that they had, they easily won the division, American League West. They swept the Boston Red Sox in the ALCS, won their third straight pennant in the American League. And they were heavy favorites, rightfully so, against the Cincinnati Reds. Now this is the best of times for the Oakland Athletics because they have not reached, the World Series since 1990. It's been 30 years. So let's look at the World Series between the Cincinnati Reds and the Oakland A's. Now, the Cincinnati Reds swept Oakland. The 4-game sweep to the Reds for the Oakland A's in the 1990 was reminiscent of the A's loss to the Boston Braves 76 years earlier. Now, this was a surprising World Series result because the Reds were clearly heavy underdogs. know what I'm saying? And also, it was the second consecutive sweep in the World Series. Because remember, the Oakland A's did it to the Giants in '89, and what the LA Flags did to the Giants was done to them by the Reds. So that World Series was remembered also for Billy Hatcher's 7 consecutive hits. Now let's look at the Cincinnati team. This team was 91 and 71. That was their record. They were managed by Lou Piniella. Had Billy Hatcher on the team, Barry Larkin. Eric Davis was a big-time hitter, big-time slugger. He did some great things. Not a Hall of Famer, but he definitely made a contribution. They had Chris Sabo, Paul O'Neill. I think Harold Morris was on that team. I think catcher Joe Oliver was on that team. Also, they had a great bullpen. Noam Charlton, Randy Myers, and Rob Dibble. They were called the Nasty Boys. So they had the pitching staff to go with what they had on offense. So continue on. All right. Game 1. Oakland lost 7-0. Now, Dave Stewart was doing his thing, but didn't pitch that well. They got shut out 7-0 in Game 1 on October 16, 1990. Eric Davis hit a home run. And this is the first World Series in 1990 to begin play on a Tuesday since 1984. It lasted until 2014, 2006. The exception of this one was scheduled to begin on Saturday, while those from 2007 2013 featured Wednesday starts. Now, Dave Stewart entered this Game 1 where he had a 6-game postseason winning streak going for him, which ended after 4 innings of work. Eric Davis, man, he hit a 2-run home run. They got out of the gate quickly with a 2-run home run from Eric Davis in the bottom of the first inning. Then Billy Hatcher got it going. Got a walk. Then the Reds added to their lead when Barry Larkin drew a walk. They scored on a double by Hatcher. With this Billy Hatcher, he started the streak with a walk in the first inning. Then he got a double in the third inning to drive in Barry Larkin. Paul O'Neill, he grounded out, but Hatcher scored. Hatcher moved to third on shortstop. Mike Legos throws to home, then scored on Paul O'Neill's ground out. Then the fifth inning, 1-out double by Hatcher. O'Neill walked, and over Todd Burns, Davis R&B single made it 5-0. Chris Sabo hit a 2-run single to make it 7-0. Jose Rio pitched very well in this series. He settled very good, did a great job, 7 shutout innings. The Nasty Boys, Rob Dibble, Randy Myers, pitched the 8th and the 9th. They produced a 7-0 win. Then Game 2, I remember this one. Obviously, Oakland needed to get this game, but they didn't. They lost in 10 innings, 5-4. That's because of Joe Oliver. I believe he's the one that drove in the game-winning run. Let's see. Yep. In the 10th inning, the Reds broke through to win the game off of A's closer Dennis Exley. Billy Bates chopped an infield single off home plate. Started the inning, Chris Sable single to left, put runners on first and second. Then Joe Oliver hit a bouncer that hopped over third base and down the line to drive in. Billy Bates took for a walk-off hit. And Joe Oliver, man. And that was the game, man. That was it. That was all she wrote. And they won 5-4 in extra innings. And then game 3, Cincinnati just took it to Oakland. Cincinnati scored 8 runs. They won 8-3. Chris Sabo, he hit 2 home runs in this game. Took a 3-0 lead after winning 5-4 in extra innings in game 2. So in Oakland, they win 8-3, go up 3-0. So now they put in Oakland in an impossible situation where they're definitely behind the 8 ball. Chris Sabo opened up the second inning, hit a home run to make it 1-0. Then the lead was short-lived when Harold Banks hit a soaring 2-run homer after Dave Henderson's single to give the A's a 2-1 lead. But everything opened up in the third inning when the Reds' 7-run inning began with Billy Hatcher's 8th hit and 9 at-bats. He had wrapped into a double play in the first inning, ending his streak of 7 straight hits. Paul O'Neill then singled off the glove of first baseman Mark McGwire. Then runs on first and second. Eric Davis drilled a sharp single to center's field and scored Hatcher to tie the game, advancing O'Neill to third. Then the RBI ground out by Hal Morris that put the Reds ahead. Then the Reds went up 5-2 when Sabo hit his second home run into the left field stands. So they were just on a roll, man. Todd Bingziger, the Reds DH, singled. Joe Oliver hit an RBI double. Joe Oliver, Mariano Duncan drove Oliver home with a single. Stole second, scored himself. Barry Larkin hit a gapper. So the A's were now down 8-2. Then Rick Henderson hit his third inning home run, 8-3. But Tom Browning, the pitcher for the Reds, pitched effectively for 6 innings to earn the victory, and Dibble and Myers provided 3 scoreless innings in relief to put the Reds 1-1 away from the championship. And then in Game 4, on October 20th, Cincinnati won 2-1. Jose Rio pitching against Dave Stewart. So this was a pitcher's duel. Oakland actually started the game good. They got off to a 1-0 start in the first inning because of Willie McGee hit a double and Carney Lansford singled him in. So it was 1-0. It was 1-0 all the way to the 8th inning when the Reds finally got to Stewart, Dave Stewart, pitcher of the Oakland A's. Barry Larkin singled up the middle. Herman Willingham followed with a bunt that he beat out for a base hit, and Paul O'Neill reached on a throwing error by Stewart to load the bases. Then Glenn Braggs grounded out. Hal Morris's sacrifice fly gave the Reds a 2-1 edge, which was preserved by both Rio, who at one point retired 20 straight batters, and Randy Myers, who got the final 2 outs. So the A's became the first team ever to be swept in the World Series after sweeping the League Championship Series. This was later duplicated by the 2007 Colorado Rockies and 2012 Detroit Tigers. This was the first time since 1938 and 1939 when the New York Yankees won both times. The Yankees also did in 1927 and 1928 that 2 consecutive World Series ended in a 4-game sweep, which would be repeated in 1998, in 1999, and again 2004 and 2005. The 1990 World Series will be the Reds' 5th championship, but will also be remembered as one of the biggest upsets in baseball history, which is so true. Because nobody saw this coming. Nobody saw anybody beating the Oakland A's because they were so dominant, man. They had went to the World Series for the 3rd consecutive year. 88, they lost to the Dodgers. 89, they sweep the Giants. Then 1990, they get swept by the Reds. Jose Rio, the pitcher of the Cincinnati Reds, became the 2nd Dominican-born player to earn World Series MVP. Pedro Guerrero did it with the LA Dodgers in 1981, along with his co-MVP teammates Ron Say and Steve Yeager, was the first Dominican born to earn World Series MVP, Pedro Guerrero. 14 years after Rio's award, Manny Ramirez of the Boston Red Sox became the 3rd. Other great performances was Chris Sabo. Was 9 for 16, played 3rd base for the Reds with 2 home runs. Billy Hatcher had a World Series record with 7 consecutive hits. Billy Hatcher, he could have won MVP. I mean, dude had a 750 batting average, 9 for 12, broke a 4-game series mark set by Babe Ruth, who hit 625 in 1928. So, they could have gave the MVP of this World Series to Billy Hatcher, but it gave it to Jose Rio. This was just a dominant, unlikely performance in World Series history by a team of Cincinnati's caliber, man. They just dominated the Oakland A's. They scored 22 runs. Oakland A's only scored 8. Amazing. That was total runs. They had 45 hits. Cincinnati and the Oakland A's only had 28 hits. So that was the best times if you were a Cincinnati fan, as far as that period of time, as the team having that much success in terms of doing their thing and making it happen. So hopefully you enjoyed this content. This is part 29 of the professional sports teams that didn't win a championship. Please like, subscribe, comment, do whatever you can to support the channel. I'll do another video obviously tomorrow as I continue on the teams from the 90s that I felt should have won a championship that season. And the Oakland A's of 1990 definitely applied to this. They should have won a championship that year. They were a dominant team. They only won one championship during that 3-year stretch from 88 to 90. I think that was just like the beginning of the end. They didn't win anything since. They haven't won a championship since 89. They haven't been to the World Series in 30 years since 1990. That was the best time for the Cincinnati Reds. They haven't been that successful since then. They haven't been close to the World Series since that magical year of 1990. So that concludes this video. Like, subscribe, comment, do whatever you can to support the channel. Like, subscribe, comment. We appreciate it. Until then, talk to you tomorrow.